Hey, I'm John F. Gately. You can call me Jack. Welcome to the show. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. We are just 2 days away from Christmas. And I know most of you are like super busy today doing all sorts of errands. Some of you know that I was out at Market Basket and at the Dark 30 this morning. Got that all done. Still have to go out and go to CVS. Of course, I have to shop for a gift for my wife, so I'm obviously going to go to CVS last minute. I told her that yesterday, and she almost hit me. No, I already shopped for my wife. That's all taken care of, but I still have to go to CVS and the post office just to check the mail. I got a P.O. box there. So still going to go out and do some errands. But yesterday, super busy going to Christmas parties, everything. And a couple of minutes in the morning, like for 3 or 4 minutes, I caught a glimpse of this interview with John Keller and Maura Healey on CBS Boston 4, right? And I was like, whoa, lie. Like, I was just like picking it apart for 3 or 4 minutes, and then I had to go do something. It's Christmas time, right? And I was like, that is going to make a great video if I can somehow squeeze it in. So here I am squeezing it in today at 10:30. I have not seen the whole interview. So we're going to do something new in this show today. I'm going to watch something and give you my real-time reaction as I watch it for the very first time. So we'll see how this goes. But I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. And let's see if we can just pull this thing right up right now. I think we'll get rid of the hat. I think we've done enough with the hat. That's good. The pom-pom hitting my head. Yeah, it's too much. But let's get into it. I think we have John Keller right here. First off, I want to say also to you, Merry Christmas to you, and hope that you have a good year. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's dive right into it and bring up the beginning of the Maura Healey John Keller interview. So I'm just going to play it, and then I'll be hitting pause on a regular basis just to kind of chime in with my 2 cents, which is probably exactly what it's worth. But I think this is going to be entertaining. Just before I came on air today, I just watched like the first 30 seconds, and I was already horrified for John Keller. So it was so embarrassing for him to be referring to the governor, and we're going to play this clip as Your Excellency, not once, but twice. And he does it in a way that is kind of jokingly, and I know that technically that might be her title, but I don't know any other reporters that run around the State House calling her Your Excellency. And on top of that, he gives her a knuckle bump at the beginning of the interview. Can you see John Keller, if he ever scored an interview with Elon Musk or with Donald Trump, can you see John Keller giving Donald Trump a knuckle bump at the beginning of an interview? No, he would not be caught dead doing that. But when it's a Democrat governor, the media doesn't hesitate to suck up. So let's cut to the first beginning of the interview.
Next Sunday, by looking back at the year gone by and looking forward to the year ahead with a guest who needs no introduction. She is the governor of Massachusetts, Her Excellency Maura Healey. Your Excellency.
Tight smile there by Maura.
Let's see, good to see you.
And the knuckle bump. Yeah, let's start the interview with the knuckle bump.
Happy holidays, John.
How do you like being called that?
That's a little weird.
Do you feel excellent?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
And then, of course, the self-depreciating. Oh, it's a little weird.
Good. I
Rarely.
appreciate the humility there. Well, thank you for joining us. So let's talk about 2024. One of the biggest stories, obviously, was the bankruptcy of Steward Healthcare. They took over the old Catholic hospital system more than a decade ago. 2 major community hospitals closed, others scrambling, not to mention the deaths.
Let's also remember that for a lot of people on the far left, they consider the failure of the Steward Healthcare as a feature to be exploited so that they can increase the government's involvement in healthcare not to decrease it. It's all part of the long arch of justice to have the government completely take over healthcare, which has already kind of basically happened through Romney Care and Obamacare, where we farmed out the mean part to the insurance companies. And now the far left says, oh, let's just bring it into single payer, right? That's the ultimate goal.
Of at least 15 patients from neglect and incompetence, allegedly. So the Globe Spotlight team leveled a kind of a tough hit the other day on state officials, including you, for what they said was failure to discipline the Boston-born hospital.
What we have here is failure to communicate.
Chain for regulatory violations, check its aggressive expansion plans and relentless cost cutting, or respond forcefully to dire warnings as it spiraled toward financial collapse. That's just an excerpt from a Globe editorial. You've said you did the best you could. Let's move past that to this question. What have you learned from what happened? Any mistakes that you or others might have made? And how do you propose to correct them?
Right. So if you're not aware, the Globe actually committed a random act of journalism and held Maura Healey, there must be trouble in paradise, mildly accountable for the whole Steward Health thing because it happened on her watch well into her term. John's not going to hold her accountable. He's going to pass that, as he said. Let's get past that and ask a much more fluff question.
Yeah. Well, that Globe Spotlight piece, I have to say, was pretty outrageous. A lot of insinuations, a lot of information left out. And, I think it was an unfair hit job, quite honestly. Here's what matters, okay? I'm incredibly proud of the work done by my administration and working with the workforce, the unions in these facilities, working with other hospital providers. What we were able to do, John, is in the face of bankruptcy, of closure of 8 hospitals, we were able to save 6 of those hospitals, 13.
One of which we stole by eminent domain. Let's not mention that, right?
15,000 jobs, protected the stability of the market for healthcare, and also, most importantly, drove a really bad guy who's responsible for all of this, running a for-profit out of Massachusetts. And now those facilities are being operated by responsible not-for-profits. And the 2 that did close were working on plans for healthcare in those areas.
Right. One of them that closed is probably the one that we needed the most if we were going to put it on a arc, and that was Kearney Hospital, or the Connie, as my people would call it, the Connie. That's closed. And always with the far left, they want to find a singular person, usually the CEO. Wow, what a coincidence, who you can vilify. And that's what Maura just did. We found one guy and we ran him out of the state. Who does that sound like? Familiar?
I'll also say this, and why I thought that piece was, just beyond my comprehension. I sued Ralph De La Torre as Attorney General. Why? Because he was not providing financial information.
That doesn't actually narrow it down much, because she sued almost everybody as Attorney General.
He fought us as Attorney General's office every step of the way. And in fact, the Attorney General's office back in 2015 filed a report laying bare the financial distress that Steward was in. So I think that the state and regulators did their job. I think there's questions about, on the federal level, what needs to happen. But I think what's important.
And I think one thing that's really important, I'm just going to kind of speak up here. One of the reasons why Steward failed was because Maura Healey's administration put in some regulations which blocked additional private equity from investing in the hospital system. And so it wouldn't have failed if they had allowed that investment from, what was it, Optum? Is that how you pronounce it? And now what do we got? I think we have more private equity investment.
John, and I strongly support and am proud of the work of so many, including in my administration, who came together to save jobs, to save these facilities, and to protect, importantly, access to care for patients in Massachusetts.
I want to move on to other topics, but just briefly here, long before anyone heard of Ralph De La Torre,
I don't know if you just noticed this, but Keller's phone just rang while he did the interview. Total pro.
the community hospitals.
You see him digging into his pocket. Now that I sympathize because, right, that happens to me from time to time, but I'm not like working at Channel 4. Come on, John.
Were perceived to be in big trouble. I haven't heard anything change in that regard. Are we going to continue to see ailing hospitals closing in the coming year?
Well, I think community hospitals have been closing around this country, and there's a real challenge facing healthcare right now in terms of costs, in terms of workforce. I'm proud that in Massachusetts, we are number one for the number of people covered receiving healthcare insurance in this state. But, you know, it's something that we need to work on. It's why I've leaned heavily into investments in workforce.
So didn't answer the question. Are we going to see more community hospitals close? And she said, well, we've seen that over the country. In other words, it is possible that we could see additional community hospitals close in Massachusetts. And then she goes, we have the best coverage. And that kind of reminds me of like the old Soviet Union situation where they give you a pile of money and they say, you can buy whatever you want at the store, at the grocery store. And then, of course, you get there and the shelves are empty, but you can buy whatever you want. The thing is, it's bare shelves.
As one example, but there's more that needs to happen in this space because right now, healthcare is not working for too many people in America.
Governor, you.
All right. We just got to stop right there. Healthcare is not working for too many people in America. I thought that the reason why we passed healthcare, Obamacare, well, first Romney Care in Massachusetts, and then Obamacare, which is basically just a supersized version of that. I thought we passed that 20-something years ago because healthcare wasn't working for people in America, right? I think I heard that 15, 20 years ago. Healthcare is not working for people in America. We need Obamacare, right? We have to pass the bill to see what's in the bill, but we need Obamacare because healthcare is not working. And what do you know? Healthcare is not working for people now. This is the classic lefty strategy where you go in and do something and you add layers of government and layers of taxation. It completely foobars the system even worse. And then somebody else 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15 years later comes along and says, healthcare is not working. And they never suggest that we undo what was done. They always, always, always suggest that the government do more, right?
You took heat from all sides over the situation with the migrants, the flood of migrants into the state. You took heat from the right for the cost of housing the migrants and sending them to school and so forth. Heat from the left for imposing limits on shelter stays. Looking back on the past year, is there anything you wish you'd done differently?
Well, it's funny. You're right. I was taking it from all sides on this. And
she's a total victim taking it from all sides. It's poor Maura. She's taking it from all sides, completely victimized. By the way, just one thing quickly. She doesn't really seem happy. Do you notice it? Like she's, as Trump would say, she's low energy. Even when your interviewer starts out with the knuckle bump and the "Your Excellency," where's the smile? She doesn't seem happy to be. And, you know, I've noticed this for quite some time. She doesn't really seem to like being the governor. Like she doesn't revel in being the governor. You know, somebody that reveled and his job, like, say what you will about him, but Buddy Cianci, he loved being the mayor, right? And there are certain people that once they get into elective office, they're like, oh man, I'm stuck doing this. I don't really like. And then there's other people who like it just like they love it. And it does not appear as if she really enjoys being the governor. And she's actually one of the very few attorney generals. Somebody can fact check me on this, but at least within recent memory, we've had quite a few attorney generals run for higher office, and they've all lost typically. Martha Coakley, her predecessor, who was that? Tom, whatever his name is, Healey or whatever it was, from what was he in Watertown? Even Frank Bellotti. A lot of the attorney generals never make good governor candidates or U.S. Senate candidates. And even if they get there, they don't seem really happy. They'd rather be lawyering rather than like actually leading. I'll give you another person that seemed to really love being the governor. He enjoyed it, and that showed. Bill Weld. Really, I think he liked being the governor. Of course, he was half playing squash half the time, and maybe that was part of the blessing that he had some balance. But she seems just kind of grumpy.
Remember, this is a federal issue. It was created by the federal government. It's why I advocated so hard for a bill to fix the border. President Trump has come in. He's promised to fix the border. I hope he does just that. And he's got control of both Congress and Senate now. So
no, he does not have control, but that doesn't start till January, Maura. It's Biden. Oh, wait a second. It's Biden that's in control now, right?
Get that done, Mr. President, because we need it. What I also,
is Maura supporting a coup? Because isn't Biden the president now?
Tried to take this approach, John, of how do we deal with the fact that we've got these numbers coming in that were required by law to house.
All right, this is the part I saw. This is one of the biggest lies. This is the part I saw the Sunday morning, that we're required by law to house, as if she's completely impossible to change the law. She's the governor. That's what she does. She makes the law with the legislature. We have to do it. We have to do it. We're required by law. You could change the law. Hello. We are the only state in the country with a shelter law. New York City has a shelter consent decree, a court order, which they have can't really get out of, but they're trying to. We have a law, which is just something that we could amend or scrap altogether or put a citizenship requirement, but they don't want to do it. But she glides right, oh, it's just the law. We have to comply with it. She makes the law. And John Keller, does he pick up on this, like the most important part of what I think will be one of the most important parts of this interview? Does he follow up and say, well, it's a law, but you could change it? Isn't that your job? No, of course he doesn't follow up.
But how do we do that in a way that actually gets them out and on to independent living? So we process 4,000 people for work authorization. They're working out in communities.
Competing against you, right? And, if you're the grandmother that's working at the Dunkin' Donuts trying to make ends meet and you're wondering why you didn't get a raise, you can thank Maura Healey for that.
Massachusetts. Some have already left the state. I'm shutting down hotels. I don't think that's a place for anyone to live.
All right. So I have not seen one hotel that is shut down yet. I know there was some earlier consolidation, so they weren't so spread out, and maybe they shut one down the Cape, but then just moved them to another hotel. We have not seen a massive decrease in the hotel population. In the video I made for New York City the other day is that the pilot program to move illegal immigrants from the Healey hotels into rental apartments is going very, very slowly.
And we're making important reforms to our shelter system, which frankly have needed to be made for decades. And I think that these things are going to make a difference. We're seeing the number of migrant families coming into Massachusetts go way down. That's good, because I've also sent the message, Massachusetts, we are not a sanctuary state.
All right, so everyone's heard this clip. We are a sanctuary state. All right. We are a sanctuary state. Why are we a sanctuary state, Jack? Because when it comes to the entire administrative apparatus of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which Maura Healey is the leader of, the policy is not to cooperate with the federal government when there's somebody here in the country illegally and we don't interact with ICE. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts employees, the current policy is not to interact with ICE in any way, shape, or form. And as you know, many municipalities in the state also have the same policy. And so we might not have a declaration of sanctuary, but we are following the most critical part of the sanctuary status rules, which is we don't cooperate with ICE. Does John Keller collar on this? No, of course not.
If you come here, there is not housing here.
There is housing here. There's a law, Maura, which apparently you can't change. There is housing, and you're providing it for it. And next year, we're expected to spend $1 billion on this.
And I think that's been effective in changing the trajectory of what we're seeing. But we also have to provide housing for Massachusetts families who really are on hard times and experiencing houselessness, which is also why...
Experiencing houselessness? Is that what you just said? Experiencing houselessness? Maybe that was just a slip of the tongue. I had not heard of it referred to that way. And, you know, the shelter program in and of itself, we could have an argument about, you know, maybe that is a good thing to do for Massachusetts citizens, but why do we have the red carpet open for the entire world? And why don't we change that? And why doesn't John Keller ask that question? He's incapable of asking that question, right? Your Excellency.
I went for that affordable homes bill to get more housing brought online.
You say we're not a sanctuary state. Several cities in Massachusetts have designated themselves sanctuary cities. Is it your advice that they reconsider that?
You know, I don't really understand what that terminology means in practice, because
what?
I guess I come to this also as a former prosecutor and attorney general. I can tell you that when it comes to criminal investigations of violent crime, of drug trafficking, gun trafficking, human trafficking, today, and this has always been the case, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, working with federal law enforcement will continue to do that work. So I'm not quite sure what sanctuary actually means in practice.
Oh my God, that is going to be a soundbite to come back to. I don't know what sanctuary, that is almost like Kenji Jackson saying, I can't define a woman. Like, that is that bad. I don't know what a sanctuary state is. Sanctuary state, Maura, if you didn't know, we just covered it a minute ago, is a state that won't cooperate with the federal government and does everything possible to welcome and not discriminate in any way, shape, or form people that shouldn't be here, that are here illegally. You know exactly what it is. You know exactly what it is, and especially the cooperation factor with the federal government. That we're not going to help them. And we're definitely not going to ask about anybody's immigration status. And we're going to give you driver's license that looks exactly like my driver's license and your driver's license. And we're not going to give you a driver's license that is slightly different because we don't want you to feel stigmatized. And yeah, I guess you could use that driver's license to register to vote, and nobody will be able to double check that because we're going to degrade the ability of the town clerks to cross-reference that information with, say, the registry of motor vehicles to find out if you're actually, you see where I'm going. Yeah, we're a sanctuary state. We might not have made a declaration, but we've done everything else that effectively makes it a sanctuary state. Stop lying to us, Maura.
I think what's important, though, is that Congress act and we see that reform on the border. And my view, John, on immigration is that violent criminals...
Again, John, like, that we have to see a better border. Who's in charge of the border? It's her president that's overseeing the invasion, right? And it's us. We're the only state that has this law.
People who are creating public safety threats in our communities should be deported if they're not here lawfully. On the other hand, people who've been here working, living, paying taxes here, contributing to our economy, raising schools. We've got a lot of families with mixed status. We ought to find a sensible path for them in terms of citizenship. And that's what I hope this Congress takes up.
She wants amnesty. All right, just endorsed amnesty.
Governor, let's talk about the election result.
And why isn't Keller asking her about the state police won't cooperate? Her famous quote right after the election. No question from Keller. Oh, I'm not going to have the state police cooperate. Nothing from Keller. He's pathetic.
First, at the local level, the big winner on Election Day was question one. 72% of the electorate approved of giving the state auditor access to the legislature's records to audit their spending. And she has made it clear, Diana DiZoglio, she thinks legislative leaders have resisted her efforts to expand her reach because they have something to hide. First of all, do you agree with that? You think they have something to hide in the legislature?
No, and I expect them to comply with the law, which goes into effect shortly, actually.
No, I don't think they have something to did she really mean to say that? No, okay. And she expects them to comply with the law.
Because I signed that, I certified that election result just a few weeks ago. So that'll go into effect, and I expect everybody to comply.
She wants you.
I expect everyone to comply. Yeah, that is such an incredibly passive-aggressive answer. I expect everyone to comply. Keller actually does. I did see a teeny bit of this. I think Keller actually does challenge her on this, just a teeny bit.
You to side with her in these legal disputes that have already arisen in connection with this. Are you going to?
There's really no role for me in this.
There's a political role, right?
Well, I did my job. I signed and certified the election.
Which is what any governor would do. I signed the certification. There's no role for me in this. This is so completely pathetic.
Election results, and as I say, I expect implementation.
It's a very lawyer-like answer.
To go forward in the coming days.
Are you cheering her on?
Look, I think transparency is always important in government, and I certainly support that.
Anything you want to add, or?
No.
Nope, that's it. Okay. All right.
So he did mildly ask her, like, are you cheering her on? And hell no, because the state auditor, I don't know if you understand, the state auditor has spoken out of school, right? And we won't go down that path. There's another story. They're going to make 90 videos about this. But she basically disrespected the Bing and spoken out of school. And the legislature, especially in the House where she used to serve, they hate her with a passion. And that's what this is all about. Aside from the fact that they don't want the audit, and they hate the state auditor. And wow, just a pretty curt answer from the governor on that one.
So Kamala Harris won Massachusetts. No big surprise there. 62% of the vote. But Donald Trump did much better here than he did 4 years ago, especially strong showings in counties where residents are most economically stressed. Gains among Black and Latino voters. He even carried Fall River, first time for a Republican since Calvin Coolidge in 1924. I covered him. Good guy. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
Whoa, a laugh.
So everybody has an opinion on why the Democrats had such a tough night. First of all, what's yours?
Well, it's interesting because I separate top of the ticket presidential versus state and local elections. And we did very well when it comes to local elections here. But I think what was going on in Massachusetts and also around the country is that there was this feeling that the Democrats weren't paying enough attention to people's pocketbook, to their
where would you get that idea?
Economic circumstance. I know as governor, if I look back at the last year, I have been laser focused on costs. As a result of the tax cuts that I put in, families are getting this year $300 back in their pockets for every child. That goes up to $400 next year. We make community college and UMass more affordable. We make community college free, actually.
And who actually pays for that? By the way, it's clear that she has some polling that she wanted to talk about costs. And so, I mean, when you hear a politician say, I've been very focused. I've been laser focused on something, and whatever the next thing is that fills in the blank. If you've not done this professionally, when you hear a politician say, "I've been laser focused on fill in the blank," that is always the number one thing that comes up in their polling. I've been laser focused on whatever it is, Veterans Affairs. I've been laser focused on the price of apples. I've been laser focused on the price of gas. I've been laser focused on whatever that blank is. That's the number one thing in her polling, right? And so the number one thing in people's polling is costs, cost of living.
We have done a lot with economic development to support small businesses and entrepreneurs who need more resources and help from the state. And
do they, I'm a small business entrepreneur type of person, right? I'm like the walking epitome of a small business entrepreneur. I don't want any more help from the state. The only thing I want from the state is to get the fuck out of my way, right? And I want less of you, and I want to pay less for it. I don't want any more help from you. Go away.
And we've really focused on housing. As you know, I filed the largest housing bill in history. Already we've brought online thousands more units, and that's just going to continue.
The government doesn't bring any housing online, right? Not in the market, from a market point of view. That's created by the free market, Maura.
Because we got to lower rents and we got to lower the cost of homes.
How are we going to lower rents when you're trying to move 4,000 families in your hotels into the apartment rental market?
I think that's where Democrats need to be. That needs to be the focus. That needs to be the message. And there were many people, John, who did not feel connected to that in this last election.
Well, the Biden administration oversaw a dramatic reduction in the growth rate of inflation, wound up apparently not getting much credit for it from the voters. The litany you recited notwithstanding, we're still an awfully expensive place to live. Does this give you any level of concern about your own real?
That's because, John, inflation took off when Biden took office, and it's cumulative. And what we hit 8-9% inflation or whatever it was. And no, if you hit 8 or 9% inflation, you don't then get a pat in the back when it goes back down to 3%. Even though your goal is supposed to be 2%, we're not going to be making 2%. By the way, if anybody realized that, that's not going to happen. It's going to be 3%, and we're actually probably going to be looking at higher inflation. Even today, I saw the 10-year is back way up above 4.5. We're going higher.
Election.
I think what it affirms is that we're on the right track. I agree. At the federal level, it's hard to explain to people how inflation is working, what was happening coming out of COVID, why the stock market was doing so well, and a lot of the analytics look so great. But at the end of the day, for what people were experiencing at home, the cost of clothing, the cost of groceries, the cost of everything, still really challenging. And that is why, John, I will continue to be through this next year really focused on costs, lowering costs. Are we ever going to be the cheapest state to live in America? No. But you know what you'll get living in our state? You're going to have access to health care. You're going to have access to quality public education, very safe communities, clean air, clean water, protection of access to abortion and other, protection.
There you go. You can get an abortion here. It's going to be great. You can get a free community college and free abortion. Perfect.
Of rights and freedoms. And I think those are reasons.
The government is going to take care of you. We're going to wrap you in a nice warm blanket. Don't worry. We're here to help.
Why you see people coming to Massachusetts, companies coming to Massachusetts.
All right. This, you got to stop lying, because we are a net loser to other states. To the other 49 states, we have lost population. And the only reason why the population of the Commonwealth has gone up, anyone, class, Bueller, why has the population of Massachusetts gone up even though we're losing net population to the other 49 states? Bueller, class, because of illegal immigration.
Massachusetts, and that's something that we're going to support. It's not to say there aren't challenges. As governor, every day I've got to be focused on what are we doing to lower costs? What are we doing to drive economic growth? We're not there yet, but that's the trajectory that we've got to stay on.
It's a tall order. We've got to wrap it up, but you're going to need more than 2 years to show results, the kind of results you're talking about, right? You're going to need more like 6. Isn't that correct?
Well, we'll make any announcements.
Oh, hold on. Big smile with the dimples.
At the appropriate time. But I just want to say, I'm really proud of the team. I'm proud of the work that we were able to do this year. Major legislation on housing, economic development, breast cancer screenings now without any issues from insurers. That's important. The greatest
Those evil insurance companies.
Veterans law ever passed in Massachusetts history. A lot done, a lot more to do, but I'm hungry and anxious to get to work on it in 2025.
Governor, thank you. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Merry Christmas to you, John. And to everyone out there, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I wish you and your families a lot of love and peace this season.
All right, great. We are going to sit here, the two of us. Our meals are going to be brought to us for the next week. And we'll be right back here again next weekend as we look forward to 2020.
So there's a part 2 of this train wreck? Oh, I can't wait. There's a part 2 to this train wreck. I cannot wait. I don't understand what John Keller, I guess they're going to film it right away and then they'll tape delay it, right? Of course. So they're not actually going to sit there for a whole week. But nice job, by the way, John Keller, and having your phone ring while you're recording an interview with the governor, right? That could happen on my show because I'm just a knucklehead real estate broker that learned how to live stream. You're supposedly the professional journalist knuckle bumping the governor, Your Excellency. That was really embarrassing. We do have some comments here today. Let's see. I played some of them. I think we have one here from Gordon. Why have you fixed supply and increased demand? You have inflation like housing. When you have fixed supply and increased demand, you have inflation. I think that would be true. Yes, a good old law of supply and demand. Oh my God, I'm just looking at the numbers, which I hadn't looked at yet. There's a couple hundred of you joined today's live stream. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to be recording an interview with a newsmaker later today, and that will probably drop on Thursday. So keep an eye on that. In between now and then, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to 2025. We have big plans for this account. We'll see you then. Until then, of course, once again, Merry Christmas. Have a great day. Bye-bye.